I am then, both visibly and legally, the descendant of slaves in a white Western country, kidnapped pagan who was sold like an animal and treated like one, who was once defined by the American Constitution as 3/5 of a man, and who, according to the Dred Scott decision, had no rights that a white man bound to respect. And this is what it means to be an American Negro.
Lies written down for white folks ain't for us at all. Liberty and justice, for all. The Bible says there is a time for anger. It seems to white people that for black people the time is now. But the time of struggle for black people is an old, old struggle for full citizenship in our country. Its angers, its revolts were ignored and forgotten. In the 1960s, there came again a time for anger. The story we tell now is not just about anger, however. It is also about the remarkable strength of a patient people who carried on one of the most courageous resistances to oppression in the history of man. We tell it through the words and music of our people, through poets and writers like Langston Hughes and James Baldwin, through Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, also through Mark Washington and Willie Alvin and James Wilkins and Annette Rawls, who, in case you haven't heard of them, are children who go to school in Philadelphia.
Segregation has worked brilliantly in the South, and in fact in the nation, to this extent. It has allowed white people, with scarcely any pang of conscience whatever, to create in every generation only the Negro they wish to see.
Check your cares at the door. It's the time for laughter, and the minstrels have the floor. You'll feel better when you change expression. There's no fun when you frown. It's the time for laughter when the minstrels are in town. With a happy
be able to tell the quick from the dead, William?
Those that have 3 sprigs are double whiskey, Mr. Bedford.
We wear the mask that grins and lies and hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile. With torn and bleeding hearts we smile and mouth with myriad subtleties. Why should the world be overwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. We smile. But, oh, great Christ, our cries to thee from tortured souls arise. We sing, but oh, the clay is vile beneath our feet and along the mile. But let the world dream otherwise. We wear the mask.
Oh, we'll set a table up. We'll feed you when you're hungry. He'll take care of you around your enemy. Goodness and mercy walks by our side. The Lord is so good. So good. He woke us up this morning. He's so good. He walks with us and talks with us. He's so good. And then when we would fall, he's so merciful. He reaches down, picks us up, gives us another chance. So and what's going to happen? I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Someday, when the battle is fought, we'll get home. We'll hear him say, sit down, servant, sit down. Sit down, servant. Oh, sit down, servant. Sit down. Know you had a hard time. Know you had a hard time. And I know you had a hard time. Troubles all over. When your troubles all over. Sit down, servant. Sit down, servant. Oh, sit down, servant. Oh, yeah.
Honey, when the man calls out the last train you're gonna ride, tell him howdy. Gather up your basket and your knitting and your things and go on up and visit with friend Jesus for a spell. Honey, don't be feared of them pearly gates. Don't go round to the back. No more that way. Not ever no more. Honey, go straight on to the big house and speak to your God without no fear and trembling. Then sit down and pass the time of day a while. Then when you get the chance, always remembering your raising, let him know you's tired. Just a mite tired. Jesus will find your bed for you. Won't no servant ever bother with your room. Jesus will lead you to a room with windows opening on cherry trees and plum trees blooming everlasting. And that will be yours for keeps. Then take your time. Honey, take your blessed time.
Negroes, sweet and docile, meek, humble, and kind. Beware the day they change their mind.
Wind in the cotton field, gentle breeze. Beware the hour it uproots trees.
I've been thinking about the preacher, what he said the other night. About it being people's duties for to keep their faces bright. How we ought to live so pleasant that our tempers never rile, meeting everybody around us with our very nicest smile. That's all right. I ain't disputing not a thing that sounds like fact. But you don't find folks are grinning with a misery in the back, and you don't find them smiling when they're as hungry as can be. Leastwise, that's how human nature always seems to appear to me. And we's almost pretty likely for to have our little cares, and I think we're doing first rate if we just go along and bears without breaking up our faces in a sickly kind of grin, when we know that in our innards we're as pintly mad as sin. Now, there's time for being pleasant and for going smiling around, because I don't believe in people always toting around a frown. But it's easy enough to titter when the stew is smoking hot, but it's mighty hard to giggle when there's nothing in the pot.
No one can communicate to you the substance of poverty, can tell you either the shape, the depth, or the breadth of poverty until you have lived with her intimately.
No one can guide your fingers over the rims of her eye socket, over her hollow cheeks, until perhaps one day in your wife's once pretty face you see the lines of poverty, until you feel in her now skinny body the protruding bones, the barely covered ribs, the shrunken breasts of poverty.
Poverty can be a stranger in a far-off land, an alien face briefly glimpsed in a newsreel, an empty rice bowl in a skinny brown hand, until one bleak day you look out of the window and poverty is the squatter in your own backyard. Poverty wails in the night for milk, not knowing the price of a quart. It is desperation in your teenager's face, wanting a new evening gown for the junior prom after going through school in rummage store clothes.
And poverty's voice is a jeer in the night. You may bring another child into the rat race that is your life. You may cut down on food to buy contraceptives. You may see your wife walk alone to a reluctant appointment with an unsterile knife. Or you may sleep alone. And one morning, shaving, you look in the mirror. And never again will poverty be alien. For the face of poverty is not over your shoulder. The face of poverty is your own. And hearing the break in your wife's voice at the end of a bedtime story, you realize that somewhere along the way, the stock ending in your own story went wrong. And now, you no longer ask that you and your wife will live happily ever after, but simply that you and your wife and your children will live. Make a garland of Leontine and Lenas and hang it about your neck like a lei. Make a crown of Sammys, Sidneys, Harrys, Cassius, Muhammad, Ali, Clay. Put their laurels on your brow today. And then before you can walk to the neighborhood corner, watch them droop, wilt, fade away. The worn in glory on my brow, they do not last a day, not one, nor take the place of meat and bread and rent that I must pay. Great names for crowns and garlands? Yeah, I love Ralph Bunch, but I can't eat him for lunch. A boy should have an open fireplace to sit beside, a place to warm his feet and have the peace of firelight on his face. A boy should know the songs that woodworms sing in burning logs in wintertime, as well as those of robins on the boughs in spring. Aside from these, a hearth, like a meadow's stream, has a strange old way of making boys sit down and dream of being men. And boys should dream.
Well, son, I'll tell you. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor. Bare. But all the time I's been a-climbing on, and reaching landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So, boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps, 'cause you finds it kinda hard. Don't you fall now, for I still climbing, honey. I still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair.
Oh, this the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Oh, we have a light of freedom. We're gonna let it shine. Oh, we have a light of freedom. We're gonna let it shine. Oh, we have a light of freedom. We're gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Oh, this is the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this is the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this is the light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
You can only be destroyed by believing that you really are what the white world calls a nigger. I tell you this because I love you. And please, don't you ever forget it.
I'm chocolate. That's what my grandmother always called me when I was a baby. We colored, and I like to be colored. And everybody in this neighborhood is colored. Most everybody in Philadelphia is colored. If I had $1, I'd buy shoes and socks, and I might just buy a dress.
Money hard to earn. You have to learn how to do something to earn money.
If you do, you have to have money, and if you don't have it, you will not be intelligent. I don't understand most white people. You always see white people when you go to a concert or a hospital or to the zoo. Sometimes white people, they come around Columbia Avenue and take their laundry there when it's too much. White people think they're better than colored people, but colored people think it's not true.
White people like to take advantage of colored people, but as colored people, we just as good as white people is. White people have winos just like we do. And some white people are dumb and some colored people are dumb. So everybody is the same.
I like white people, but white people get dirty too fast.
Everybody roll the ball and show.
In the beginning, I thought that the white world was very different from the world that I was moving out of. But I didn't meet anyone in that world who didn't suffer from the very same affliction that all the people I had fled from suffered from. And that was that they didn't know who they were. They wanted to be something that they were not. And very shortly, I didn't know who I was either. I could not be certain whether I was really rich or really poor, really black or really white, really male or really female, really talented or a fraud, really strong or merely stubborn. short, I had become an American.
On December 1st, 1955, Mrs. Rosa Parks boarded the Cleveland Avenue bus in Montgomery, Alabama. And the Negro Revolt is properly dated from the moment Mrs. Parks said
no
to the bus driver's demand that she get up and let a white man have her seat.
Oh God, the long night of hesitation, frustration, filibuster has been so awfully long.
Right, right, all the way from Selma town. Right, right.
There comes a time when people get tired.
Right, right.
And we are here this evening to say to those who have mistreated us for so long that we are tired.
Help him, Jesus.
Right, right.
We are tired of being segregated and humiliated.
Amen.
Right, right.
Tired. Did you hear me when I said tired?
Yes, Lord.
Tired of being kicked about by the brutal feet of oppression.
Oh, Lord.
Right, right.
Now we have no alternative but to protest.
Oh, tell it, tell it.
For many years, we have shown amazing patience.
Yes, Lord.
Right, right.
We've sometimes given our white brothers the feeling that we like the way that we are being treated.
No, no, Lord.
Right, right.
But we come here tonight to be saved from the patience that makes us patient with anything less than freedom and justice.
Human rights. Respect as human beings. That's what America's black masses want. That's the true problem. The black masses want not to be shrunk from as though they are plague-ridden. They want not to be walled up in slums, in the ghettos, like they are animals. They want to live in a free and open society where they can walk with their heads up like men and women.
Keep on talking, Lord, I'm marching up to freedom day. Ain't gonna let Sheriff Clark, Lord, turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let Sheriff Clark, Lord, turn me round. Well, I keep on walking, Lord, I keep on talking, Lord, I'm marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no dog, Lord, turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let no dog, Lord, turn me round. Well, I keep on walking, Lord, I keep on talking, Lord, I'm marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody, Lord, turn me round, turn me round. Turn me round, ain't gonna let nobody, Lord, turn me round. I keep on walking, Lord, keep on talking, Lord, marching up to freedom land.
We don't want no niggas in school with us. Tell me, we don't want to integrate.
It is a terrible and inexorable law that one cannot deny the humanity of another without diminishing one's own.
God knows I would be kind, let live, speak fair, requite an honest debt with more than just, and love for Christ's dear sake these shapes that wear a pride that had its genesis in dust. The meek are promised much in a book I know, but one grows weary, turning cheek to blow.
White Americans have contented themselves with gestures that are best described as tokenism.
The 1954 Supreme Court decision on school integration, it was trickery and magic that told Negroes they were desegregated.
Hooray! Hooray!
And at the same time, it told whites, here are your loopholes.
At the rate things are going, all of Africa will be free before we can get a cup of coffee.
What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink meat? Or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet?
Maybe it just sags like a heavy load.
Or does it explode?
And when the dynamite does go off, pious pronouncements of patience should not go forth. Blame should not be placed on outside agitators or on communist influence or on advocates of black power.
It takes no one to stir up the sociological dynamite that stems from the unemployment, bad housing, and inferior education already in the ghettos. This explosively criminal condition has existed for so long, it needs no fuse. It fuses itself. It spontaneously combusts from within itself.
We are being forced by police misconduct to get together to fight the police. You know when I'll believe that singing "We Shall Overcome" is an effective way to fight the police? When I see you send your Marines, your airmen, and your infantrymen into Vietnam, led by the Mormon Tabernacle Choir.
I believe in anger. The Bible says there is a time for anger.
People tell me that white people are harder than colored people. And so many people have told me, I believe it.
I like to be white because I'd rather go to white people's school and live in beautiful houses.
White people have nice expression, but they're evil.
Well, this white lady on our street, and she has a little black car, and if you lean on it or touch it or anything, she comes out and she gives a bucket of hot water and throws it on you.
These white people that are taking our money are not getting any place, but ready to get killed, because not too many Negroes are going to let them get away with it. Like the man who sold my mother a washing machine, which didn't work, and she paid almost $100 for it. And this same man might try again and end up 6 feet on the ground.
For the white man to ask the black man if he hates him is just like the rapist asking the rape or the wolf asking the sheep, do you hate me? The white man is in no moral position to accuse anyone else of hate.
We want to live in peace with all mankind, and especially with the whites of the South. Our interests are identical, but we do not want the peace of the lamb with the lion. Give us our rights. Will you do this or force us away from you?
Said a Negro minister of Selma, Alabama in 1887.
The biggest lie and biggest fraud was the integration thing.
And now everybody gets a do-good feeling, black and white alike, from this integration bit. Everybody goes around singing hands in hands, but nothing gets done.
I think it's quite obvious why the black man has moved away from the white man. After all, for a long time, he's been beating us, killing us, messing with our women. And I think when the black people become aware of this, they have to move away from the white man. Because after you see what he's done, it sort of instills a hatred in your heart.
For several hundred years, we have been told that black skin is ugly, that kinky hair is something to laugh at, that thick lips, are sort of ungainly, things like this, Which goes to show you that if you did integrate into a society like this, that there were certain things that you would have to sacrifice, things like pride, things like respect.
Well, you got to get yourself together first before you worry about integration. And personally, I don't like being with anybody who does not want to be with me. So later for integration, I think that black people can do for themselves and don't need white people, as long as white people keep their hands out of our community.
And so maybe one of these days we will be able to get together, but right now it's a whole matter of black getting together and building up their thing, and white working in their own communities and building up their thing.
The only thing white people have that black people need or should want is power, and no one holds power forever.
Whenever any group can vote in a bloc and decide the outcome of elections, and it fails to do this, then that group is politically sick. The cornerstones of this country's operations are economic and political strength, and the black man doesn't have the economic strength, and it will take time for him to build it. But right now, the American black man has the political strength and power to change his destiny overnight.
We need to make property owners of blacks. People with property don't destroy it. Only with power can blacks achieve self-respect and self-identity. White people will have quite enough to do in learning how to accept and love themselves and each other. And when they have achieved this, which will not be tomorrow, and may very well be never, the Negro problem will no longer exist, for it will no longer be needed.
She does not know her beauty. She thinks her brown body has no glory. If she could dance naked under palm trees and see her image in the river, she would know. But there are no palm trees on the street, and dishwater gives back no images.
I am delighted by the racial and self-pride that black nationalists and black power proponents are generating. I'm happy to see the hair straighteners and skin bleachers disappearing.
I like white people, but I like colored people more than I like white people because I'm colored.
I like my color because brown is my favorite color. I'm proud of my color because my color is a part of me.
Blacks and whites need to learn a great deal more about the beauty of blackness.
Between us, there was no nigger thing. There was no white, no color thing. To me, he was a beautiful cat. And if you dug people, and if people had something that was beautiful about them, they were raceless.
The past has been a mint of blood and sorrow. That must not be true of tomorrow.